Face the Nation moderator and CBS News political director John Dickerson is with us from Washington. John, Trump's call to temporarily ban all Muslims from entering the U.S. is extremely controversial. Is this a policy statement or a strategy aimed at something else?
Well, it could be both. Certainly, ever since the attacks in San Bernardino, Donald Trump has talked about the need for profiling, the fact that people are too politically correct when they talk about Muslims, and that something needs to be done. So his thinking has obviously evolved. He also has a view of the electorate, and it's backed up when you talk to the voters who support him, that they want strength. And so in this case, this is also a kind of show of strength on his part, which is that he will do what he will go the farthest of all the candidates in trying to answer this terrorist threat.
Could it also be just a basic reaction to some news that we're getting about Ted Cruz improving? At least there's one poll showing him really sort of pulling ahead in Iowa. It's just one poll, and it was taken before Trump's remarks. But we've seen him kind of ratchet things up whenever he feels the competition at his heels.
Certainly, it could be. It could be. There was also a poll that came out just a couple of hours after that one that showed Trump up by his largest margin in Iowa. And Trump is also up nationally by his largest margin ever. So it could be maybe a response to a poll, but it could also be a natural Trump response, which is to any event, he is not going to be out muscled. And he, the minute this happened, said that he thought his poll numbers would go up because people look for strength. So he defines response to the terrorist attacks as being all about strength. Certainly there's a whole worldview that says that's exactly the wrong way to go. But when he defines it about strength and then does something that he thinks looks strong, that's kind of been his practice for the whole campaign.
On the other side of that argument, we've seen some Republicans already fundraising off of these comments. Is this a moment where they're getting a real opportunity here?
They may be getting an opportunity, but so far fundraising and saying having some negative reactions is not too terribly different from what they've done in response to the 6 or 7 or 8 other comments that Donald Trump has made along the course of the campaign trail that people have found objectionable. With Trump's supporters and the people who are keeping him aloft in the polls, the idea that he's being criticized by his Republican opponents is proof that he might be saying something right. So if a candidate is really going to use this as an opportunity, it would seem to be that they would have to give a protracted and long and sustained argument for why what Trump is saying is so out of bounds, why it so contradicts the American values, and why it also has a tactical downside, which is to say that if you make Muslims the enemy, you can very well be playing into the hands of ISIS, and also that ultimately America is going to need Muslim allies in this fight, and so you don't do things that would show you object to the religion as a whole.
And this has been happening, like you mentioned, throughout this whole sort of campaign. Donald Trump says something incredibly controversial. The other candidates react. And Donald Trump, what he is successful at doing for at least a period of time, is controlling the topic of conversation. I'm wondering how concerned the GOP party is, and is anything being done?
Well, I think the Republican Party has been concerned. We saw some demonstration of that concern in a memo from the Republican Senatorial Committee last week that showed just how tense and the tension here, which is on the one hand, the memo said that Donald Trump has tapped into something important in America and has a base of support that's powerful and very sticky. It doesn't leave him. But they also said he is an unpredictable, misguided missile, I believe is the expression they used. And this is an example of that, which is that he will do things that Republicans then have to say, well, I agree or I don't agree. And so the party is in that fix. The thing is, the party can't do anything here. Condemnation may not do anything to Donald Trump, and they are worried that the supporters who support him, they need them in the general election. So while there's been some condemnation, there's a lot of fear also that the voters that support him would leave the party or leave the ultimate nominee.
All right. Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson, thanks so much.
Sure thing.
Stick with CBSN. We will have much more coverage of Donald Trump's comments throughout the hour.